This is a Hot Pie Original.
Hello and welcome to the Amy Edwards Show. I'm your host, Amy, and I'm so excited that you're here today. You are showing up. You are doing it. You don't really need this, but showing up puts the good stuff in us, keeps us up leveling, keeps us rocking life, keeps us connected in that space of practicing the good stuff to keep us at a higher frequency, right? And that's a fancy way of saying being our best selves. So that is why we're here. I'm here to use my voice to help you use yours. And I'm so stoked about our guest today, the Tina Rodriguez. Okay, that's her Instagram, but Tina Rodriguez is here today. And she channels light languages, among other things. And it is a fascinating discussion that will open your mind. So let's get to today's episode. Hello, and welcome to the show. How are you? Are you taking a breath? Are you rushing around? You in your car? What are you doing? Are you out on a walk? I listen to a lot on my walk. So wherever you are, I'm just inviting you to be here and be present. And I am thrilled to be here too and to connect and take a little time. Before we get to Tina today, who's incredible, you're going to feel high at the end because I speak from experience. I'm feeling high right now because she does a short channeling of light language for us at the end. And oh my gosh, you guys, it's so powerful. I just felt, and the thing is, I just sat in it. And then when I came out of it, I was like, I'm high right now. So open up your energy and you're going to really feel good at the end of that conversation. So I'm so excited to share it. And thank you so much to Tina. I'm going to share more about that in a minute. So first, I want to talk a little bit about happiness today. I guess I've been reflecting a little bit on happiness just lately and thinking about what I'm drawing to myself with my own attention and my own energy. And I guess I was just thinking about, are you happy? Are you happy? And I had a friend, one of my best friends, Elizabeth. She asked me when we were in college, and she was like, are you happy? And it was a funny thing because I've remembered her asking me that for many years. And obviously, and I felt like asking me that at that point in my life, the happy was actually a bit deferred. I think my answer was, yeah, I am. But it wasn't a resounding yes. There was like a sense within me that I'll be happy, later. I'm in college right now. Or I think that we get that sense sometimes as if it's deferred in some way. Does that resonate with you? I'm going to guess that it does. I think that so many times we put it outside as if there's, the goal of it, but it's not for right now. I'll be happy when I make that money and am able to retire or travel to X or am, healthier or lose this weight or whatever it is. I had a friend when I was in my first marriage, I had a friend tell me about her husband left her. And she said that they were just sitting there about to watch a movie or something. And he looked at her and said, I'm not happy. And I thought, wow, that's powerful words. And I remembered it, and I haven't told this, but I'm telling it now. But when I just thought those words say a lot. And when I was leaving my first husband, which I left both marriages, I said that exact phrase to him, and he knew. I remember where I was standing and everything. And I said, I'm not happy. And I guess I've reflected a lot on what makes us happy. Like, why couldn't I get happy in that moment? Because we had a house and a baby and things like that. But there were other things at play. And so I guess I've questioned, like, was I placing too much attention on things that weren't making me happy? Should I have, this is silly, right? Because no, but I guess I wonder about happiness in general, because are we placing too much attention on the things that aren't working, on the things that are making us unhappy? Because our energy flows where attention goes, right? And so if we're focusing on the unhappy parts, that's where the energy is flowing. That's what we're summoning more, right? Our attention to something summons more of that. We're basically asking the universe for more. It's like a few weeks back when I talked about debt. If we say, I want to get out of debt, you're still saying the word debt. So if you're placing your energy on that, then you're going to get more debt. So let's say surplus. I want to be in surplus. I want to happily pay my bills. I can't wait. Sorry, just had to interject that. Anyway, I guess this is just an invitation to explore the areas that perhaps don't feel so good and think about whether or not we are giving them too much power over our state. If it is not joyful and in pure happiness, are you giving that debt or money, let's say, too much power? Which Aline Hanley, a few episodes back, told me I was giving too much power. And I found that a game changer for me. She told me that I was giving the issue of money way too much power over every aspect of my life. And she was right. I was letting it kill my joy, even, in daily life, when you're eating a meal or hanging out with your kids or whatever. So what could you be giving too much power to? And in turn, giving away your happiness, or maybe not even giving it away, just depleting it. Not depleting. That's probably not the right word either. What is the right word? The right word would be diminishing, I think. Diminishing your happiness. So I guess the great part of it is that you then get to remember your happiness. You can step back into it. You get to remember what it feels like without it and how good it feels to have it. So I'm asking, are you happy? Is the answer yes? Can you get to a yes? And I think back on my first marriage, could I have got to a yes right then? I think that's the question that I wonder about. At the time, I guess I couldn't, but it all led me to where I am right now, and him to where he is right now, and our daughter to where she is. So everything happens as it is supposed to happen. But anyway, it's just an interesting question to explore. And that's what was on my mind today. So I want to say a big old thank you for being here, because this shows that you're showing up for yourself in the most loving way. Because we're here to do the work, to cultivate practices and habits and all the rest of it to become our best selves. And that is badass. So you have the power within you to be happy now, if you want to. I'm going to be happy right now. Whether I know what I'm going to say next, whether I, whatever could go wrong, whatever. I'm just going to choose it. I'm going to find the parts that are working, the parts that make me happy, and I'm going to focus on those. I'm going to send that attention there. It doesn't have to be at a later time. You don't need to defer it. Get quiet, because it's all in there. You have the power to stand in that happiness right now. Yes. And then you say, yes. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get to today's episode with Tina Rodriguez. I have known Tina for, I suppose, maybe a few years now, but not very well. So I was really excited to sit down with her today, learn more about her background and her life and how she stepped into what she does. In Austin, she's really well known in the spiritual community, and she puts on meditations. And before the pandemic, she really did. That was where I met her. And I attended one of her meditations, and it was huge. The things, they would sell out. And it was one of the first times that, I got saged up and down as I went in, and that was kind of new to me. And it was a very interesting experience and novel to me at the time. And I had never heard someone speak all these different light languages and sing and do what she does. And it was fascinating. And especially the parts where what I'm going to mention right off the bat with her is she is very connected to an orca whale. And so she, at that meditation, spoke also in dolphin and whale. So we talk about that too, which, right, I know, it's so interesting. So I invite you to open your mind today and join me as I talk to Tina, because we talk about how she stepped into this channeling and how she cultivates the practice of it, whether it scared her or not. And she has had scary experiences, and how she accepted it and how her family accepted it. I didn't really get into her friends. That would be cool to ask. But anyway, how her family accepted it and how it's fueling her growth and her life and what's going on with her. So it is an absolutely fascinating discussion. So I want to say a big thanks to Tina for being here today. You can find her on Instagram at the Tina Rodriguez with a Z, just like it's spelled, just like it sounds. And she also has a YouTube, Tina Rodriguez. And then you can also find her website, which is Manos de Oro, which is handsofgold.org. So I will have all those links, of course, in the show notes. So please follow her and check her out. And let's get to it. Stick around for the end too. Definitely for her ending. And then I'll be back at the end as well for a little wrap up. Have you heard yet about Sovereignty and their amazing supplement products? I'm such a fan. So we're going to have a discount code at the end too. So stick around. They create Sovereignty. They create game-changing supplements that take our workouts next level, that help us with our productivity. They help us fall asleep and recover better at night. I mean, how good does all that sound? That's all we talk about here pretty much, isn't it? My favorite, actually, which I drink all the time, I don't have it right here right now, but I'm about to drink one, is Purpose Plus. It helps us when we're feeling unmotivated or lacking focus. It's almost like a legal vitamin microdose, basically. It'll help you have a better day, the best day, every day. It's a blend of CBD, CBG, a mood-enhancing hemp-derived ingredient, and 7 clinically studied ingredients with the world's best adaptogens to deliver results that kick in right away, which is badass. The supplement empowers and supports your mind and body to feel better, be better, and achieve new levels of productivity. Also, we talked about sleep. How important is that? Catching those good Z's, the good ones, right? Not the false ones that you can get with other, medications and stuff. Okay. I'm not going to talk bad about those, but it's about putting the good supplements in and proper recovery. And that's what happens with their product, Dream Plus. It relaxes and calms the mind and body while helping you fall asleep and stay asleep longer. Dream Plus contains 5 clinically studied ingredients, CBD, CBN, and adaptogens to help heal your body from the day while you sleep and get that mental state right. Because I know when I'm too tired or I haven't slept, I will eat anything. I don't take care of myself. And if you lack the sleep, then your whole day is kind of shot. So anyway, this is an amazing product and they stand behind it completely, because if you're not happy with your results, they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee on your first purchase. So try it. Give it a shot. There's nothing to lose except the bad sleep, except not getting stuff done, right? And we could all stand to lose that, I'm sure. Use code Amy for 20% off your first purchase and find out with no risk what I'm talking about. That's 20% off with code AMY. Just simply go to sovereignty.co to use their code SOVEREIGNTY.co. And they've made it easier now too with SOV.live. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right.
Yeah?
Just a little nervous. This is my second podcast.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I guess just finding comfort and ease in talking about myself or just talking in general.
I know. Well, that's funny. You should say that.
Yeah.
Finding comfort and ease in talking in general. You're more comfortable singing. Is that it?
Sure. Actually, that's in groups and things, find myself to a comfortable place.
You want to?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is so interesting because I'm the opposite. And that was one of the things that I really found so cool about you and that I really wanted to talk about. I'm so into voice. And I went to Costa Rica recently and we had to set an intention for it. And one of my things was to get really more open with my voice because I get really up in my head about, singing. And I'll see people like you who, like the first meditation I went to of yours, it was before the pandemic and it was massive. And you are unafraid to sing and to channel light languages. And you spoke in all sorts of things, including like whale, or maybe that has a name. Yeah. And I was like, wow. I was wowed by it. But I often think of that because I get inhibited if it's not just talking. And I'm a singer too. And it's taken me a lot of work to do that. But I just wondered, that's so funny that you mentioned talking makes you a little nervous. And I'm curious about why, but I'm also wondering how you got to where you are so open with your voice, because I find that very inspiring.
I grew up singing. And I'm from a family of 10 children. And
whoa.
Yeah. So
where'd you grow up?
San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, cool.
And my parents were musical. My mom would play the guitar and sing with us kids, and my dad would play the drums, or my sisters and I would sing together different songs.
How many
in
of
harmony.
those 10 were sisters?
There's 5 and 5.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah.
What number are you?
I'm the baby.
Oh,
the
that's
family.
a nice place to be.
Yeah, I'm the youngest, or last born. My oldest sister, she always says firstborn instead of oldest.
Yeah.
But she moved to New York when I was young, and she would come home and bring songs from Broadway musicals or other things for us.
Yeah, because I guess y'all are pretty far apart,
to sing together. Yeah, she's 18 years older than I am.
Oh, wow.
And, but yeah, a way for us to connect and yeah, just we all enjoyed music together. But not to say that I didn't ever have nerves in performance, but I guess the comfort that I find in leading guided meditations and things like that is setting the intention that my ego, that Tina, step far out of the way, and that I'm being used, my vessel's being used for the transmission. So the comfort in speaking light language or whale, or,
is that what you call it? Does it have a name?
Well, channeling the frequencies of cetaceans, of whales and dolphins and other sea creatures.
Wild.
And so it's, asking that Tina step out of the way, and whatever beings that I'm invoking, whether it be angelic realm or star beings or the cetaceans or, whatever,
right,
that my ego is out of the way, allowing me to be a clear channel for that to come through.
So does it feel less vulnerable since you feel like you're stepped out of the way?
It's taken practice. Because in the beginning, when first leading meditations, looking around to see if everybody is having a good experience, their eyes are open, they're looking at me, okay, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Get back in the sound.
Yeah. That was off key. The mind will still try to pull myself out of presence in the moment. And so it's just taken practice since I've been leading sound healing meditations and things like that for over 10 years now. So,
but when were the first time these languages came up? Because I'm sure that surprised you, or maybe it didn't. I guess I want to know too. I feel like everyone could open up to this. So, what did you do, and how could someone do that? If I wanted to. What did you do? What was your path?
It actually started in college. So I was a theater major, and they used, I guess some teachers might call it gibberish. In this particular class, it was called Omnish, or a universal language. So it's any sound that could be made with the mouth. And the language is a language of intention.
Okay.
So, say if it were just to be called gibberish.
I've done some acting.
Whatever sound comes out of the mouth.
Yeah, we've done like an exercise like
playing
this.
around with sound in the mouth. But then playing around with whatever your intention might be.
Okay.
I'm trying to comfort you with my voice and stuff. Like you can see that there's something agitated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can feel it in the vibration. And so the whole point around it is to get out of the mind and stop trying to analyze what's being said and come back to the heart or however it is that your body is receiving the sound.
Okay.
And so even in that, when speaking light language, it's like, well, what were you saying? It's like, it's not important to know what's being said. But I guess in my channeling of it over time, it's come clear that the intention behind it is to help decode, I guess, old programming, move old energy, things that aren't serving, bring things back into harmony and balance, and then simultaneously bringing in new energy. And sometimes if I'm lucky, I'm given a translation as to what it means. The translation is very loose, as I've come to understand, like a single word could have a paragraph of meaning.
Wow.
But
which makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Because our language is limited. And so when I say that I get nervous about talking, sometimes it's hard for me to put into words my experience. Just using words in general, sometimes it's just can be challenging because the more that I expand into these other realms, the more that our language is limited to me to be able to,
Well, so what happened the first time in college?
It was in a voice class, a workshop, and we were practicing speaking in this universal language. And then our facilitator said, it's like, okay, we're going to break for lunch. And when we come back, we're going to become the United Nations of Omnish. So it's that universal language. And everybody can come up and say their piece. And, they would be like the mediators or whatever. And everybody was coming up to speak. And I noticed that as people were speaking, my body was reacting and I'm like starting to contract and I'm like, I don't know what's happening to me. And I was really scared to go up and participate. But finally, when I stood up, I didn't feel like myself. I felt like another energy had dropped in and started speaking through me.
Whoa.
And the voice sounded to me what I would describe as like French Arabic. And like this really low guttural sound. And I was like, this isn't me. What's going on? And so the more that I started to step into the healing arts, which happened soon after that, maybe like within 6 months of that time, I was attuned to Reiki. And that started to open it up even more. The very first time that it happened, I was actually speaking to my cat and noticed that he was responsive to me when I would speak to him.
Whoa.
And, but I just thought I was, just speaking some sort of funny cat language, I didn't really think anything of it, but it wasn't until that workshop that I realized, okay, this is an energy that's moving in and really did have something to say, like what's going on. And then when it would happen more and more, especially in like healing sessions, becoming more attuned to how I felt when the words would come out. Becoming more aware, also attuned to what beings were moving through or speaking through
How would
me.
you even know?
It's become a practice of listening.
And I think there's like this openness and allowing, because I imagine there's probably things that can scare us in that. And maybe it happened to someone and they, you just shut it down.
Yeah.
And you're just the type that was ready to be
not to say that I didn't get scared from time to time, because certain experiences that I was having were very new to me. And
I'm sure,
when losing control of my own body or when the energy is so intense that like I can't walk, things like that. And so, basically just screaming up to the sky, like, "Hey, don't freak me out. If you want me to be if you want me to be open to any of this, like,
treat me gently."
Yeah, gentle, easy, please. Thank you.
Well, because it is a little bit like that. I remember when I was in college, I was talking to my mom about speaking in tongues and stuff, and she wasn't like Pentecostal or anything like that, but she was very in tune with like God and spirit and all that. And she was devoutly Christian, but she said, oh yeah, I can speak in tongues. And I remember just being petrified. And she was like, do you want me to do it right now? And I was like, I remember where we were sitting and everything. And I was like, no, I don't. And I regret that so much. Like and she's passed away now. I can't even ask her about it now, but I regret that. Like I should have just opened up a little bit to it. And
I'm hearing that you can still ask her and she can help you open up to speaking.
I almost started crying right then. That's weird. Like it's true. I felt that, you know, like
it's a language of spirit.
Yes.
So
yeah. And I get that. Yeah. I do. And I'm curious, like how your family has reacted to this over time. I'm sure at first it was an adjustment. You know, I don't know. I'm making an assumption, but
well, no, you're not wrong. But it's not necessarily something I always share. I mean, they my mom find it kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
But still, you know, I'm still learning or understanding what's moving through, what it means. You know, it's not just funny language or whatever that I'm speaking, but I'm
sure it's a lifetime practice. Yeah. Like it's not like something like it'd be like, okay, I got the answer. Yeah. I'm done. You know, or something like that. Because, but how are they with it now? They're just fascinated and they haven't. I just think you're lucky with an open family, probably.
Yeah. I've become, because I grew up in a very devout Catholic family, and what I experience and practice in my daily life is different than what they believe in, and so it's been trying to find the common ground, and also just knowing that neither side has all the answers in terms of how we connect spiritually. And I think especially with my parents, have come to a place of understanding and receptivity, that it's better to be open to know where each is coming from or what our experiences are, as opposed to completely shutting down and holding on to certain beliefs.
That's really good, Tina, because I feel like so many families can get ingrained, especially in Catholicism, with like, this is how it is.
Right.
Oh, that's so beautiful. What a blessing, you know? And I guess I'm just curious about your own road out. I mean, I don't know if out of Catholicism would be the right phrase, but like how did you feel?
In high school, there was a certain, I mean, because as a kid, I was like, when I look at myself as a kid, I was like, man, I was so into it. I would like dress up as certain saints and things and read up on certain saints, and just was was devout in my own way. But then it was like at 14 that I started to lose resonance, and, you know, out comes Wicca, and I'm like, what is that? And, you know, just like my interest getting piqued in different ways, but then having that guilt of like, gosh, can I go in this direction? Like, what can I do? And it wasn't really until I left home to go to college that I freed myself to begin to explore different things. And
where'd you go to college?
Texas State in San Marcos.
Okay, so you had a little distance, a little
distance. It was like close enough to go home if I needed to, and then far enough away to live my own life. That's what it said.
Yeah, and not a religious school either, which was probably helpful.
It was very helpful. However, because I had felt like I'd kind of extricated myself from going to church and all of that, I did feel like I was floundering spiritually and wanted to find something that resonated with me. And it was pretty much just after college that I found one of my main teachers, who passed away in 2011, but she was a curandera in Aztec medicine. And she had a similar story to my own mother, which was interesting, working in psych units in hospitals and just dealing with people with severe soul trauma, but realizing that the medical complex wasn't really serving them and what they were really going through, and that she wanted to be able to treat their soul. And so moved to Mexico and learned the medicine of her roots. And
wow.
And one of the things that helped create a bridge for me was she talked about Our Lady of Guadalupe. So Our Lady of Guadalupe was once or is an Aztec goddess named Tonatzin.
And I'm a little familiar with the story, but please tell me.
And that Our Lady of Guadalupe representing, or Mother Mary, and she has this black sash around her waist, which was supposed to represent her being pregnant with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But in the book, which is called Woman Who Glows in the Dark, she speaks of Donatzin, or the black sash, not just representing being pregnant with child, but just being pregnant with possibility. And so it's just learning how to reconnect to the figures of my previous faith, like say Jesus Christ or Mother Mary or anything like that, and finding my own resonance and finding my own connection, as opposed to in the church having the mediator of the priest, or the knowing that I could still have my own connection and especially when it comes to Jesus Christ, or, Christ consciousness, the main message being like, love your neighbor as yourself, or, coming from a place of unconditional love and compassion. And so, though floundering a little while from leaving the church, knowing how to find my own church within myself, within nature, which the Aztec medicine helped me tremendously with, was to reconnect with the earth, the medicine of the earth, and and the medicine within myself.
I think that's so beautiful. I've been reading Conversations with God. Have you ever read that?
I have not.
I'm listening to it. It's like something crazy, like 26 hours or something.
Oh, wow.
It's taking me a while.
Mm-hmm.
But toward the beginning of it, there's a passage about exactly that, and how we get ingrained in this idea that God is told to us rather than what we're feeling. And the God in the book, God is saying basically like, it's just a feeling. You can feel it, and you can find your own inner church. I love the way you phrased that. It's so beautiful. And I just want to emphasize that. I want to put a little exclamation mark on what you said, because it's easy to forget, forget that we don't have to be told, and we can tap into those feelings with practice.
Right.
Everything's a freaking practice for me too. So anyway, I want to talk more about as we progress your journey. So what happened next? Tell me. And it's cool that you were already like attuned to Reiki and stuff. I have done my Reiki master, and I found it opened me up in surprising ways. Yeah. And left me open. So I use it on a daily basis just for myself.
Right.
And it's already in there. It's just how open can we get? And that's pretty interesting around it. Yeah. So you were already doing that pretty young.
I guess when I began, I was 23 maybe?
Okay.
23. Or it's like, when did the awakening begin? Oh, good God.
Well,
yeah, 22, like 23.
You were always kind of on this path, though, it sounds like. So,
but the energy work definitely opened me up, and actually moved me in the direction of using sound for healing. Yeah. So having been a singer, didn't know that I could use my voice to move energy. And so when that first came to me in a Reiki session to use my voice to help move energy, it became this, like, whoa, okay. Ooh, what else can this be used for? And so it became like a really fun exploration. Do
you think that all music is doing that?
All music.
Even if it's not that intentional? Like, what about like rock music or singing, like whatever? Do you think that that's moving energy just in a different way?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't thought of it in that context till right now, till you saying that.
Yeah. I guess,
but it surely would be, wouldn't it?
I feel like all sound emitted has an intention attached to it.
And it's vibration.
Yeah. So for one person, it might cause contraction. For another person, it might make them, really amped up and inspired. So
yeah.
So yeah,
it's a trip.
I would,
but it is vibration. Yeah. I mean, the sound bowls, when did you start doing like more of that kind of sound?
So I used my voice for, I don't know, let's see, like 5 years, just my voice in healing sessions. And it wasn't until 2011 that I acquired my first crystal bowls.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd been I play other instruments like piano and guitar and things like that. But yeah, the crystal singing bowls came in about 2011.
What all do you play?
Piano, guitar. It's funny. It's like I can make sound come out of things. A friend just gave me a sitar. They're like, you know how to play the sitar? I was like, not really, but I can figure it out. Some percussion instruments, like djembe. I have a Celtic harp.
What's your favorite?
What's my favorite?
Yeah,
my voice.
Your voice.
Yeah, because I can carry it anywhere.
That's right. It's the instrument that I actually have a voice lesson right after this. I take a voice lesson every week. And she's always like, this is the one that's the biggest challenge to people too, because it's the one we carry with us. It's the one that affects us, that you can't like just tune it up.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyway, well, so I guess I'm curious too about when the languages were going and you were channeling those, and how many of them there are and what your practice is like.
New sounds come in all the time, and
do you keep like a log of them? Or
I don't, and I probably should.
I don't know.
Well, it's just like as they come in, certain beings have, I guess, a dialect that I recognize, and
really,
and if I don't recognize it, then in my brain somewhere I ask, where's this coming from? But yeah, it's continuing to expand. So
tell me about some of the beings.
The Hathors.
Okay, I've heard of the Hathors.
Yeah.
Yes. So what are they like?
The Hathors, they are an interdimensional race from another universe that are here to assist us in anchoring unconditional love and unity onto the planet using sound.
So they're all here helping us. I don't know what my question is. Do we go anywhere to help people? Are we able to leave to go help other interdimensional races too? Are we just stuck in these bodies? For now, I suppose.
My experience of the Hathors, the Arcturians, Pleiadians, both star beings, communicating with certain aspects in those other realms. So this is something that I'm still integrating. Okay. And I do this because my head exploded when I first discovered it, is that there are aspects in these realms that are actually me.
Because we're all connected.
In other dimensions.
Okay.
Right. So here I am, Tina, 3D. Yeah. 3D to 5D embodied here on planet Earth. I have an aspect in these star systems, in Pleiades, Arcturus, in the 12th dimension as a Hathor. But have, I don't want to say fragmented off, but I don't know if it's this quad location. I don't know how many parts of me are in other places, in other parallel realities, simultaneously
actually,
existing.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, so
in that, these, that is an interesting question. I feel like those aspects of me are helping in these other realms while I'm here.
Well, if we are God,
yeah,
which we are,
right,
then and we're all connected in that way, then it goes to reason that yes, you would be in those other places too, since it's all connected.
Right.
I know people could think this sounds far-fetched, but why is it more far-fetched than anything else? I think it's totally can be. And you are like, it not just can be, it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what I want to bring to people is really think about this. What do you tell people like when they're skeptical?
It's interesting. It brings me to this quote that I heard. Are you familiar with Bashar?
Mm-mm.
So Bashar, Daryl Inca is his human name. He channels this extraterrestrial being named Bashar.
Whoa, cool.
And really fascinating to watch him in his channeling state.
I've heard of some different
and
things like this.
There's a documentary called First Contact, which he tells of his experience with that.
Okay.
And he says, most people don't believe what's happening. Like when I'm channeling, I hardly believe it. But regardless if anybody believes it or not, it doesn't change the fact that it's true. So if someone is skeptical of my experience, it's like, I don't expect you to understand. This is my experience. So it's true for me.
Yeah.
So, and it really is experiential. In order to open or to believe, oftentimes, requires having an experience in order to open up and not be skeptical.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even say like Tom Kenyon, who's another sound healer, channels the Hathors, he became a neuroscientist to be able to check himself and make sure that he's not crazy, because he's channeling all these other beings, the Hathors, the Arcturians, skeptical of what he was receiving from these other beings.
Like his own skeptic.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like a take what resonates, leave the rest.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't compute, kind of put it off to the side, and maybe it'll percolate, digest later, and some understanding may be able to be gleaned from it.
Yeah.
And if not, that's totally okay. So what he calls the imaginary box. So anything that like might be way over one's head, or might find some skepticism or resistance or whatever, anything like that, can put it in the imaginary box and, deal with later. And, it might show up in, okay. Oh my God, that makes total sense, and it may not in the moment, or it may not ever. And that's totally fine.
What scares you? Does any of this scare you? Do you ever get scared?
Like I said in the beginning, I did, just because, it was like intense ringing in the ears,
really?
Like having what I would only describe as an episode of like just a, giant influx of energy that I didn't really understand what was happening.
It made your ears ring and like the vibration of it and everything. Yeah. Wild.
And, but once that stopped,
how long did that last?
I couldn't quantify really, maybe a minute.
Oh, okay. I was
so like
days
not long.
Or okay.
No. Thank goodness.
I know. I was like,
but I guess I'm thankful that I'm open to seeing, but I don't see things. I feel more than I see. If I see something, it's more just an impression on my third eye, but not seeing a figure like you are sitting here in front of me.
Okay.
I think that would probably freak me out to begin. if that started happening, like actually seeing figures or being standing there. Yeah. But, in the spirit realm, not much scares me anymore. I think I did get scared when dealing with more contact with other beings that weren't here to serve my highest good. Were here to scare me. Yeah, incite fear.
What happened?
I guess one would call it the psychic attack. So like in the middle of the night would feel an energy in my room and would go under sleep paralysis. And
yes, that sounds super scary.
Couldn't speak, couldn't move. But now just learning tools on how to command my own energy and, keep my space clear. Or
what do you do?
An invocation of light beings, like I call on
like protection type stuff.
Yeah.
And so what is that like?
And what do you mean?
I guess I don't know if people are experiencing that, because I know that that's common.
Yeah.
Like what could they do? What could someone do? I mean, to invoke, some sort of protection in that regard. and feel like they have a tool to help them when those things happen.
Yeah. The invocation that I use is something that I just created on my own to what I call on a golden Christed light of Yeshua.
Yeah.
And imagine it as like this force field type, like fence really around me and around my space. And then calling on my angels. I call on Archangel Michael a lot, and I'm sure he's pretty busy taking care of everybody.
He's multifaceted.
Multifaceted,
yes.
Yeah. And then a command that any energies, entities, thought forms, spirits, anything not vibrating at 100% unconditional love, not here to serve my highest good and purpose, anything not sanctioned by me through source must leave and stay beyond the boundary of the golden Christed light.
Yeah.
And as it does so, it has an experience of unconditional love to assist it on its spiritual evolution for its highest good and the highest good of all. So it's not like, be gone, and trying to banish the energy, because really it's like all beings want love.
They're all on their path.
And
sure.
those that might be deemed as dark or evil or anything like that are only so because they feel separate from love.
Yeah.
And that goes for, spirits without bodies and spirits in a body. So moving into humanity also, those beings, those humans that are doing things that aren't serving the good of humanity or serving the good of the world feel separate from God, feel separate from love. And it's like that hurt people type of thing. But using that, I use different crystals around my space. It also took me moving out of an apartment and moving into a home because sharing walls, sharing energy with other people in the apartment space. Just making sure that my space is clear. My mom used to say that the devil lives in the dust, and I started to notice it, that like if my house was messy, it creates density and creates like a breeding ground for different energies to hang out. So,
really?
Yeah.
So cleanliness really is next to godliness.
Something like that. Or it helps to keep dense energies from moving into a space.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I like too, though, that you have a tool just within yourself that you created. I think that's really inspiring, like for people, like you don't need anything special necessarily. You can just really open up and tap into this golden Christed light, or, whatever you picture and envision, and really call on the protection. And I love that you approach those other beings with love.
It took time, because at first it was, the natural instinct is to, oh, you're not supposed to be here, be gone,
Yeah.
and try to force it out. But then it came to me that it's like, oh, okay. And I think it was an experience that I had in doing a house clearing for somebody, that the spirit was angry and retaliating because it was wounded in some way and needed to be heard and wanted to be heard. And so to actually open myself to a place of receptivity to hear that story and help it move along by showing is like, okay, all love here. Like, I don't want to hurt you. Like, how can I help you? And then after that, it was just like, okay, I'm not going to, try to fight it off, just try to, come to a place of love and compassion.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is just a lesson for everything, really. Like, can you love it and not resist?
Right.
Or, fight back kind of thing. Right. Oh, shoot. I had something that I was going to ask you about that. And I just lost my train of thought, but, anyway, what was it? Damn. I had something I was really curious about and I lost it. Anyway, I'm into the unconditional love approach and the fact that we are our own tools. Oh, I know what it was.
Yay.
I wanted to ask you about psychedelics and how they affect you. Do you do any of that, or?
I do.
Yeah.
And
are you open about it?
I am.
Okay,
I mean,
great.
I haven't necessarily, I don't know if I've made a post or two, maybe perhaps
Okay.
but would like to talk about my experience more because it was so pivotal in my
Ooh, cool.
healing. That,
Great.
learned Reiki and sound healing came into my life, and, maybe had some past life regressions or whatever, but then came to a point to, in working in the Akashic Records.
I've heard of all this, but I haven't really gotten into it.
So it's including but not limited to looking into past lives and how that might be playing a part in the present. So when I, at the beginning of my healing journey, just was like so bogged down emotionally. And I was like, okay, I'm 22, but I feel like I'm 62. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Really?
And was having digestive issues, depression, anxiety, things like that. It's just like, okay, I know that some shit happened to me when I was a kid, probably, or, just normal life stuff. But this feels a lot more, pardon what I said.
You can say,
I can say whatever.
Absolutely anything you want.
Yes.
You say you want to be comfortable and look good? I got you. Well, actually not me. Good Life Clothing has got us all, because Good Life Clothing is working on how we live now, which means we want to be more comfortable and look good. They're American made from the finest, highest quality materials, and their core collection of premium essentials keeps you looking good and feeling great. And yes, I do wear it. And yes, I speak from experience. It does feel good. They just opened a new store at the Austin Domain North Side, so you can stop by there or any location, or go online and get 20% off when you mention code AMY20. That's AMY20. Yes, it's valid on your entire order at goodlifeclothing.com. Elevate your game with Good Life, goodlifeclothing.com.
In starting to delve deeper into the Akashic Records and pulling more information on other lifetimes that were affecting me.
And you did this yourself?
I started working with someone, doing consultations, but in those consultations, my record keepers told me that it would be good for me to learn how to do it on my own, and then to eventually learn how to open the records of others. And,
wow, cool.
And so I worked in my own records for about a year before I learned how to open them for other people.
Oh my God, I totally want to do it.
Yeah. But it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And it's been quite the transformative tool for me in uncovering things that I didn't know were stored in my body, in my, in certain belief systems, things like that, pulling all of that.
Like it starts to make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in relation to other people as well. And it's just, it was very helpful. But so Akashic Records, sound healing, and then Ayahuasca came into my life all at the same time. And this was like beginning of 2011.
Okay.
And so when I was speaking of my other teacher, Elena Avila, when she passed away, I felt, that feeling of floundering again, like, where am I supposed to go? What do I do? Do I stay on this path, or where do I go? Help me. And 2 months later, I found myself in my first ayahuasca ceremony.
Wow.
And
where?
I'm like, where was I?
Have you done a lot of them?
I've been working with the medicine for the past 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 2011.
Yeah. And so the shaman I worked with is from Peru, and it began to unearth. So it's like, so it's like, I would say this, like, I didn't really hit necessarily a plateau, but I knew that there was something more. And I do that because I just felt like I was going down to the depths to uncover some, what I would call just core wounds to my existence, that which, historically in my life, had contributed to making me not feel sure that I should be here. And, so when people ask me what my experience with the medicine is, I was like, it's different for everybody, but my own personal experience, and also just working with, say, ayahuasca, but then also psilocybin. I'm like, what else? I haven't worked with Wachuma so much, but I guess ayahuasca and psilocybin are what I'm most familiar with, most resonant with. Yeah, help me uncover deep childhood wounds and trauma, as well as from other lifetimes that I feel like I may have been able to uncover them without it, but definitely expedited the process in a sense.
They say that, that it's like therapy packed into, this concise
I
time.
was going to say expedite because, like, say, for instance, one lifetime that I have healed and cleared, the first image of it came up in 2011, and I didn't really bring it to completion until 2018.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it? Or can you talk about it?
Yeah.
I ask everything.
Yeah, no,
I'm tell me more.
It's more so like with all of it, with all of the modalities and healing tools, spirit will only give you as much information as your soul is ready to know at one time. So, for me, one lifetime that I uncovered that I had taken my own life. And so that was part of the patterning or chronic depression, feeling like I shouldn't be here, unworthiness of love, different things like that.
Wow.
Part of my soul still being in that other lifetime, believing that, having to read.
What do you mean part of your soul is still in that lifetime?
Not right now, but
right.
At the time when that was coming up to the surface to heal and clear.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Yeah. The other lifetime that I just spoke of was a lifetime during the time of the samurai.
Cool.
And my family and I were murdered.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the first image of that actually happening. I didn't understand what it was. So I just kind of put it off to the side, and then it started to come up again a few years later.
Wow.
And I thought that I had healed it and cleared it. But then I guess 2018, I discovered that the sword was still in my chest.
So what'd you do?
I held a ceremony to help move it out of my body.
Good call.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one day I'll write a book about the different experiences or past life memories, things like that.
How do you feel when those get cleared? Because I haven't done any of that work.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, I'm pushing 50.
Mm.
So what does it bring you, I guess? Because I guess I'm asking for someone like me who hasn't done it. Am I,
Mm-hmm.
holding on to things that could be damaging in some way? I mean, how do you feel having cleared it?
At the time, uncovering, and I do this because this shoulder had been chronically injured,
and throughout the lives.
In this lifetime.
Oh wow!
Before becoming a massage therapist, and I guess starting in 2006, this shoulder started to radiate pain. And I feel like that was in part of the Reiki, also bringing all things up to the surface.
Yeah.
And it's just had been years of clearing this because it's like, okay, it could be physical, just having hypermobile shoulders or discovering later that, as a kid, it might have slipped out of socket or something like that. And it's just vulnerable and, but consistently weaker than this side. But in working in the Akashic records, finding, a harpoon from when I was a mermaid, there's an arrow here, there's, all sorts of things trapped in this shoulder, as well as just emotional pain that gets carried on this shoulder.
Yeah.
And so it's like when things are up, then that's when I ask questions. So it's like normal day to day, you may feel fine, but when things are not quite in alignment, when there's conflict, whether within you or with another person or something like that.
Yeah.
And so for myself, when that's true, that's a time to go into the records and see what's there, what's left to heal, clear.
Interesting. Because I have a spot on my back.
Uh-huh.
And it's bothered me since I was a child.
Mm.
And I remember my mother used to pay attention to it. And I can remember her rubbing it, or my dad. And it just always bothered me, just one particular spot. And then I had someone along the way, in the last few years, and I mentioned it to her, a healer or whatever it was. And she was like, oh yeah, that's a past life thing, and was telling me a little bit about it. And it was super fascinating to me. So, I mean, who knows, I probably need to do some work on that and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, what would come up. I guess my perspective, I haven't really done this work. I'm very open to it, but I guess I'm coming from a real layman's perspective. I'm just very curious, like what it can bring, practically speaking. So that was why I asked that question, but I have to backtrack and ask, you were a mermaid? Please tell me a little bit more about that. Because I think both my kids were. And
to answer your question, or what can it bring, in the records past, so time is a human construct,
right?
Linear.
Which fascinates
the only way that we can conceptualize of time really is by putting it in past, present, future.
Mm-hmm.
In the Akashic records, everything is simultaneous. There's no.
That's so fascinating.
So anything that has happened in the past, if it's
all right there.
It's all right there. It's all right here, right now.
Which is very hard for our monkey brains to get a hold of. At least mine.
So the very real physical pain that I was feeling in my chest and in my shoulder, though it's coming from another timeline in my perception of linear reality, is affecting me right now. So here, that lifetime comes here, and the emotions and everything that I'm feeling around it, the people that were in that lifetime, also present in this lifetime, being able to heal and clear it for all of us, and then move it so it's not affecting me anymore.
Yeah. And so what's going on with your shoulder now?
It feels good. Like I don't
nice.
It's sometimes still feels vulnerable, but not as much as it did before. Like I do this because it's like I'm doing a plank and I feel strong on both sides.
You look like you've been playing. You look good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
But there are several lifetimes as a mermaid.
What? Yeah. Yes. I need to know a lot more about that.
And I am a mermaid now. I swim with a monofin in Barton Springs.
Yes. Both my children, I mean, from like birth, practically, it's the best. And they've always felt really connected to that. So I don't know. Mermaids existed?
So it is.
Earth,
it's my belief that mermaids exist. They're just in another dimension.
Okay.
So they can see into our reality. We can't necessarily see into theirs. Sometimes they can make themselves seen, but they shapeshift into other animals. At least this is my own understanding.
No, I want you to tell.
I don't know. It might not be true for anybody else.
Mermaid hair.
But a memory that I had was of ships, sailors on the water for days without food and thinking that they found a whale or a shark or something like that. And they threw a harpoon, they pulled a mermaid up onto the boat and didn't, seeing that it was humanoid, didn't want to be cannibals, but they were starving and, whatever, like we're hungry. And so threw a harpoon in the water and got me, and I saw myself like tacked to the mast of a ship in order to be bait for other sharks or other or maybe my pod would come back to try to save me, and they would.
Well, that sounds horrifying.
Yeah, it was horrifying. It wasn't, like
mermaid Ariel on a rock.
No. But
wow.
But yeah. One of the messages from them was they've been driven into hiding due to human cruelty. So it's like how humans have chosen to try to command or dominate land and sea.
Yeah.
Be at the top of the food chain or, whatever that is, as opposed to attempting to coexist. So, a lot of the stories of mermaids and myth is that the mermaids would sing out to the sailors and
the siren song.
Sure. Well, I don't know. It's just interesting. I'm still learning of sirens and mermaids they're two different creatures.
Oh, okay.
But that the sirens, but they end up bleeding into the myth of mermaids that like they're one and the same, that they would sing out to the sailors and make them crash their ships and eat them or but what I've heard from them is that not speaking a language but still having a frequency that they emit that was disorienting because it was such a high frequency that was misunderstood, and their reaction was only to retaliate. So it's like they had to protect themselves.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I have right now on mermaids, as far as my experience and what I've
what about unicorns? Can I just ask?
Well, I don't know. I'm of the belief that like most mythical creatures creatures that we have driven into myth are actually real.
I think that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I had a moment where I was thinking, like, if we can conceive of it, is it perhaps, something that has some sort of basis?
Yeah, I think so.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then what do you think about like Satan?
Satan?
Yeah.
That that level of power in darkness, I guess, if one were to perceive him as dark, exists.
Yeah.
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 That
because I don't really believe in it so much as I know I didn't know we were going to go here, but I don't believe in it. But I just felt like asking. But I don't believe in it so much as a exact construct, like biblical, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, I do think that it could be a representation of like something like that dark power, and that's interesting. But I still believe it's all God. Because everything is God, everything. And so I did a podcast with East Forest, and we got into that and just talking about, he was like, everything. And I was like, everything. And he was like, everything. And really that's what they say in that Conversations with God, like everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that fascinates me. So that's why, when you talk about those pieces of you in other places and things, I mean, is there proof of other dimensions there? That sounds like a silly question. I'm sure I should know that, but I don't know. I feel like there might be.
I feel like there might be. I'm not entirely sure what proof is there. But when it comes to, I guess, kind of trailing back to everything is God, we are experiencing things in a dualistic consciousness of like good and evil, light and shadow, love and hate, that everything has come from oneness. We have chosen our experience of separateness or individuation. And there are forces that want to keep us in this place of separation, division, keep us from being unified in love being the most powerful vibration there is. And so I guess right now in the world, what I feel like we're experiencing is all of that energy that might try to keep things from unifying back to one or love, really coming up to the surface. And I feel that eventually we can drop the verbiage that would keep it separate or define it as a negative thing, define it as anything. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm holding that for myself.
That's probably a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's another way of offering that unconditional love that you talked about, offering anything that might come into your field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it sort of an extension of that?
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Which is, that's the real love,
mm-hmm.
which I'm all about. So, this is so cool. And I like what you just said. I feel like maybe we're at a natural point to kind of wrap up, but I want to turn it over to you before we go.
Okay.
And see if there's anything that you really felt called to share today, or anything that we talked about that you want to reiterate, or anything that you just want to share about yourself that maybe we didn't touch on today, that we didn't get to. Anything come up for you?
I'm like, what else is there? It's
It's okay. Take your time.
So a little bit more about me. You know, I talked a lot about myself and my experience in the healing arts or the healing realm. Coming from such a creative family, you know, a lot of filmmakers, artists, writers, musicians, all of that, you know, being, just very, very connected and in love with film and music. And that's still very much a passion of mine. I was an actress for many years. And I guess I did talk about being in theater a little bit, but to be able to create a bridge and, or for myself anyway, merge what I have learned in the healing arts into conscious media to tell stories. I, hope to tell more stories of my experience, like lifetimes in the records, or that I've uncovered in the records, or creating films and music that can be healing. Just creating more content that can
because you
has a capacity for healing.
You have filmmaker in your bio on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So are you moving into making films?
Yeah.
Like, what would that be for you? Directing, starring,
both.
all of it?
Yeah.
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 Very cool.
Whatever hats fit.
So what are you working on?
Currently, I'm starting to work on a short film project. There is an orca whale that is really close to my heart.
I think that's the one you spoke of. Mm-hmm. And you posted about her recently, and got to get her pronoun right. So you know what? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Because how did you even discover that?
So actually, have for some time been very passionate about the water.
Maybe that's the mermaid part of you.
Yeah. The water, the oceans, really the earth and everything that is happening to the earth. And
oh God, yeah. I was just reading about this like horrible sludge stuff that's in, Turkey, and it's bad.
Yeah. And one of the main things that I want to, if I can leave any imprint on the planet before I go, whenever that may be, is helping us return to a place of reverence and reciprocity with the earth, and being able to coexist with one another, and including not just coexisting with our human brothers and sisters, but our relatives that are in the sea, or that are, in the earth, in the trees, all of that. But yeah, passionate about the water, the ocean, ocean conservation. And in that, ended up finding my way to watching a documentary called The Cove. And Richard O'Barry used to be a dolphin trainer. He used to train Flipper, and he has a book called Behind the Dolphin Smile. And he also talks about Hugo. Hugo was Lolita's tank mate. So,
okay.
Speaking of him, and it was through him and his.
Who's Lolita?
Lolita is the orca whale that's in captivity.
Okay, got it. I didn't watch The Cove because
it's not an easy watch.
I didn't think I could take it. No, I'm too sensitive to animals.
I'm too sensitive too, but my spirit guides made me watch it.
I read Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer a few years back, and I became a vegan right afterward, and which I've gone back and forth on a little. I am right now, and man, it was almost too much for me. Yeah. So I resisted watching The Cove.
It was a lot, but it drove me to hold space for them, since those dolphin hunts happen annually.
Ew.
And so I sat in meditation and to help them, and it's just like, okay, wow. I can't sit with the intention thinking that I'm going to save them, just knowing that me sitting in prayer is helping them either way, whatever happens. And so that's kind of my stance with things, except, becoming more active, of course, now to help these creatures that are suffering. But it was after that first month of sitting daily for the dolphins that, in order to help myself, sat in a mushroom ceremony to help clear some of the energy that I felt like was kind of getting trapped in my body. And in that ceremony, I was at the bottom of an orca tank, and I could see this orca above me. And then I could see into her body and saw that her organs were enlarged. And she told me that it was from the medications that she had been given consistently for years and years to help to deal with the depression and anxiety and things that she was dealing with. And told me some other things in regards to those parks and what they do with the whales when they die and things like that. And I was just
when
like,
you
oh my
say
gosh.
she told me too, I just want to clarify. It's probably like
It's a
feeling,
telepathic
like a
communication.
Okay. That's what I figured.
So it's
It's like you just know.
yeah, and I'm hearing it through my third eye, I guess.
Okay.
So when I said I heard,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily auditory in my ear, though it's in my field, and I'm receiving it and know that the thought form isn't my own.
Okay.
And yeah, so that happened. And then I ended up having a dream about her, and I was swimming in her tank with her. And once I learned more about her and how long she's been in that tank, it's been 50 years.
Wow.
She was stolen from her home waters in the Pacific Northwest. And her mother is still alive. And many people have been championing for her release. August 8th is sort of the anniversary date of her capture.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's can look it up and read for yourself the event of that happening. August 8th, 1970 is when she was stolen. And yeah, the efforts are growing stronger to help her go home. And what I've received from her telepathically is that she's just very tired, after 50 years of just performing in a tiny tank as for profit, for entertainment, and has been separate from her family or any semblance of real life, and wants to go home. And so I'm making a short film to showcase her experience and what she desires. I had someone make me a costume, an orca costume.
I saw it.
Where I swim in this costume to relay her message as best I can, and just be a part of the many people who are praying and championing for her release. And the main thing is she, because they'll
Have you gone to visit her?
I have gone to Miami.
And what happened?
The first time I went to Miami, I got sick actually, because the clearing her energy body, her physical body, is just a lot of density. That whole place is just very dense, and I ended up purging a bit in the bathroom. Luckily, it was outside. Yeah, it's just sad. It was the following times that I went, I felt a bit stronger. But, having received telepathic communication with her, from her for years, and then seeing her actually physically in front of me, was really, really intense, but really beautiful, as I was able to sing to her, and she actually came up and was receptive to me. And
that's what I was wondering. Wow.
Yeah. And it's been a really beautiful experience. And then also she's helped me. She says that, it's just like, it's understandable that you would be sad and be sad for me. I just ask that you connect back to joy and live your life as freely as possible. Imagine me free. I can attach my consciousness to yours and live vicariously through you. So it's like to live in joy and in love, and live my life freely, but also, in the privilege that I have to have certain freedoms, using my voice to be able to speak on behalf of her and these other beings that are suffering.
What did you think about the intelligence of these types of animals before this? And what do you think of their intelligence now?
It's interesting. It's like, I'm not entirely sure when I experienced the shift or becoming more aware of how intelligent they are. I guess hearing that, dolphins and orca whales are actually the largest form of dolphin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're called whales just because they're large like other whales, but they're actually the largest dolphin.
Oh.
But just knowing how they can communicate with each other, and also, I guess, began to shift my my awareness of how intelligent they were as they started to communicate with me.
Yeah.
You know, being able to channel their frequency in sound, and intelligence far beyond my knowing, even currently, even though I've had these various experiences with them. And the level of compassion, also love and compassion, regardless of how they're treated, is beyond anything that I've ever experienced.
Really? That's so fascinating.
I at least in my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because with her, she's like, in the years that she's been there, I'm sure she's moved through the various emotions and anger and resentment, but, you know, eventually moving herself to a place of like, I'm not angry. I just want to go home, you know, and her plight being to, because Miami Seaquarium, where she is, as well as the state of Miami, you know, other people have brought them to court in order to repatriate her because she's an endangered species, technically. She comes from a what they call southern resident orca pod that are, endangered because there's only like 72 of them left.
Wow.
And so it already violating so many things, but violating the Endangered Species Act, you know, trying to get her to go back home.
How long would she live?
That's the thing. So it's like, oh, she wouldn't survive in the wild. You know, there's so many pathogens that are in the ocean water that she hasn't been exposed to, blah, blah, blah. And she says, well, I'm not surviving here.
Right.
Like, you're keeping me alive.
What's their lifespan, I guess? How is that?
So males, I think, can live to be, I don't know, I think maybe around 50, maybe less. I'm not entirely sure. I think the females can live longer than the males. The females, interestingly, have sort of a human lifespan. So they go through menopause like a woman would, like around like 40s, 50s. But they, unlike other species, can live beyond their reproductive years.
Wow.
And so Lolita, for instance, is 54, I think, and then her mother is in her 80s. The oldest known orca, who passed away a few years ago, lived to be 105. They called her Granny. Yeah. And so they can live a long time in the wild, and if supported by their environment, which they're also under threat with depleted salmon, which is their main food source. So it's all the efforts to help her and her kind. But yeah, she said that it's not about me surviving. It's about me dying with dignity. So it's like, I'm not attached to living a long time. Once I'm home, I just want to see my mother again. I want to be in my home waters. It's just like anyone that was maybe dying of a terminal illness or something like that, like not wanting to be in a hospital. They want to be at home with their loved ones. Right. So that's her plea.
Interesting.
And
it's so
the film that I would make would be to share that.
Yeah.
So there's one, and then have other stories, other narratives.
And just the ripple effect of that is, like you said, living in more, you said it so perfectly, resonance with the earth, with our creatures, and with each other, you know?
Yeah. So it's like if we were to treat a sentient being like this in order to make money and you know, just what does that say about us as human beings?
It says a lot.
Yeah. But how can we shift that? You know, how can we shift away from that which exploits others and that into something that can truly be of service?
Yeah. I've always heard too, whales are so amazing in the wild. I've heard that they come up to the boats, that they're friendly, that they're fun. those may be whales, maybe not orcas. I don't know. But dolphins do too. They're just very happy. Like it seems like we could just chill out.
Right.
I'm
focus
glad
on their thriving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as a result, we're focusing on thriving, rather than the mighty dollar.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm glad you brought that up because, and wanted to share that because I know that's very close to your heart.
Yeah.
And good for you for using your talents to draw awareness to something that I just think can have that spillover, not only for that particular thing, but in a more general way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that her freedom would mean the freedom of all of them.
Yeah.
Or at least, like you're saying,
sort
the
of
ripple
catalyst.
effect.
Yeah. Yeah. But it does. Like that's when you focus on the thriving, when you focus on freedom, when you focus on treating any living creature with dignity.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah. I guess this is when you had the question of like, what's my platform? And,
I know you were like platform.
I'm like question mark.
Like, okay.
Well, when I thought about it, and something that has come to me is that wanting to help us all move into a way of existing that is yes for all. Like it's everyone wins, not these people win and these people lose, or these people have it all and these people don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
And any of that way of being needs to go.
The zero sum idea, as if, oh wait, they have more. Well, that means I don't get as much.
Right.
No, there's full abundance for everyone. It is not a zero sum game.
And so, how can we support that for everyone? How can I be of support to anyone?
Yeah.
To cultivate more of that and of love, especially,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was thinking about that.
Love.
I was like, what is
your platform?
Love and unity for all. Right?
Love and unity for all.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is a beautiful place. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it just starts with yourself. So
Yeah.
reach in there and find it for yourself. And if that means healing old stuff, then by all means, find a way, and people can find it with you too if they want to work with you. Correct. Yeah. And are you you're most reachable probably on Instagram?
Yes. Yeah. The Tina Rodriguez.
The Tina Rodriguez, just like it sounds. So, well, I want to just say a big thank you for showing up today
Thank you for having me
and sharing everything. And you're so welcome. I was just excited to get to know you because you're very special and interesting and well, everyone's special, but you are very open with your gifts, and that is inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing your voice and your words today that did not fail you at all. They came right through.
Well, once we get going.
That's right. That's right.
No, I would always joke because like, I don't, English is becoming foreign to me. That's why I speak in light language all the time.
I love
more
it.
Sense.
Yeah. Do you want to leave us with some? Do you feel, can you leave us with something? Yeah.
So an invitation to place a hand on your chest, on your heart. And just taking a deep breath. And calling in our highest healing teams and whomever that may include, those vibrating at 100% unconditional love, to bring in this transmission. And this is intended to bring harmony and balance into your entire being. And that you have an experience of unconditional love. Here karanda la gyorgam, pergi ki kargar sindia. Ki ko dolo koram marke yarkim. Ala kirkriar kar sindi karkalar. Kor konolwa markami minnet. Ki sindi ala karai karmnat. Arnat ala karkuto eso. Argentitias kan porro roerle kriam. Pergi nital kargatsa kariatam. Shoo. We all come from light. We all come from love. In this density, we may have an experience of darkness, of those vibrations that may make us feel separate from love. Trust that you are already have returned to your origin in light, to your origin in love.
Trust that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. You are a sound bowl.
Human singing bowl.
I love it. You are. It's so beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for that gift right then. Such a beautiful, and I got to listen to it in headphones. I recommend that if you want to rewind and listen to it in headphones. So thank you so much. And of course, I'm going to have every way that people can find you if they want to work with you or just learn more or stay in touch with your work to free Lolita.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. On Instagram, I'll post updates of the progress of that film. My healing website is also can be found on there. If you'd like to work with me privately, you can just message me.
What's the address for your healing website?
It's Manos de Oro, so handsofgold.org.
Beautiful.
And also updates on other music and other happenings in my life and movement forward.
I feel high right now after listening to that.
Awesome.
I feel high. Love it.
Yes.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you were here today and so excited to be able to amplify your voice as much as I can.
Thank you.
Love you. Yes. Yes. I'm feeling it. I hope you are too. Go back and listen in headphones if you didn't, like I said. It's incredible. And so follow her at the Tina Rodriguez on Instagram if you want to hit one of her live meditations. She said she's doing those about once a month now and getting back in the groove of that post-pandemic. And also, of course, you can work with her on her website, and I will have the link in the show notes, manosdeoro.org. So big thanks to Tina for being here and sharing her voice and her light. And thanks to you for opening up and with me and really expanding. I drew a card today that said expansiveness. And, I feel that. I feel like anytime we're just unconditionally opening to these things, that makes such a difference in the world. And when we pay attention to the intention behind things, right? Like the intention is to create a better world. That's why I'm here, for sure. That we can all do that together, that it's not a zero-sum game, that there's plenty to go around, just like we talked about. So badass. So big thanks to Tina. Thanks to you for being here. Also, I have new things going on with my newsletter, and I'm so excited about them. We're doing Minute Mondays and a little dash of inspiration at the beginning of the week from me. And of course, the newsletter that tells you what's hitting in this episode. And I'd just be honored if you'd sign up. It's at amyedwards.com. And of course, you can find me on Instagram at realamyedwards. And so reach out anytime. I'm trying to read some, as we move forward, I'm going to be reading some ratings and reviews and questions. And so anything that you have to ask, I want to know. You can always hit me via email as well, amy@amyedwards.com. Is there anything else? Thanks to our team at Hot Pie Media. Sarah and Colton were in today. Sarah, thank you so much. So grateful for our team here at Hot Pie and all the support that they provide me and us. And to our sponsors, thank you so much for them. And the biggest thank you, of course, is to you. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself. And thank you for being here. And thank you for supporting this show and connecting with me. I'm just honored. It just makes my heart dance to get to sit here and connect and talk and up level and learn, because we are just growing and learning and remembering all the time. So stay with that and stay with your habits. Next week, I'm doing a good habit review and I'm stoked about that. So thank you so much for being here. And I just wish you all the things, peace and love and health and wealth and abundance and light languages and dimensional healing and all the good stuff to you. Wealth, abundance, did I say that? We can't get too much of that. And unconditional love to yourself as well. So ever grateful. And I will talk to you when we meet again. Peace and love. Till then. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this show, please rate and review. It totally matters. And I encourage you to spread the love too and share this episode with a friend if you feel called. Find me and my newsletter sign up at amyedwards.com. And you can also connect with me on Instagram at realamyedwards or on Clubhouse at Amy Edwards, or write to me. It's amy@amyedwards.com.